Hey guys, this is the start of something new. So it's 7 in the morning and I've left home. This is me driving through Panchkula and getting to Baddi. Panchkula is in Haryana, Baddi is in Himachal Pradesh. I work in an MNC that needs me to drive up to the plant every morning. We started at 6:45, it's 7:01 right now, and the sun hasn't risen yet. It's winter, so it's kind of cold. It's what, 12 degrees outside, probably around 10. We have an hour's drive, but I can typically make it in 50 because Maps doesn't realize how early it is and how empty the roads tend to be. But I thought this could be something cool, man, because I don't know a lot of people who have moved out of Mumbai, moved out of a very nice, comfortable city life, come to a tier 2 and now drive to like a tier 3, tier 4 every single day. But yeah, it's been like 1.5 years since I'm doing this. I like my job, I have a lot of ownership, I lead a team and it's fun. It's the kind of work that you don't expect to do at 24. But it's been cool, and I think the reason I wanted to start this is because I feel like living here, coming from a very different world, has already taught me a lot, in the sense that it's taught me how life can be so different but still enjoyable at the same time. What felt like the most uncomfortable place initially, there is no similarity between Panchkula and Mumbai, but what felt like complete not my zone, fish out of water, has now started to feel really good. I like this place. I like how calm and peaceful it is, and how I can focus my energy, my time on what I want to do and what I need to do. And the city just lets you be. It lets you be the way you want and let you do what you want to do. So that's really nice. There's a phenomenal fitness culture here. Everyone's fit. Everyone's fit. Everyone works out. Everyone eats clean, and we breathe clean air. So life is good out here, man. Like, my parents come and visit me every often, and this is what a retirement city can and should look like. So yeah, it's a pretty solid place. But like I was saying, a lot of learnings, a lot of new stuff that you don't expect to hear, see or do so early in your career. Something that taught me a lot is frankly this car. So I got this car from home. It's a fairly new car. It was bought to use in Mumbai, but now it's with me in Panchkula. And driving this 100 kilometers every day taught me a lot about cars in general. It taught me about maintenance, daily use, what you should, what you shouldn't, what does this mean, what does that mean, how do you use this vehicle properly, how do you make the most out of it, and stuff like that. So I thought this could be like a vlog of for anyone who wants to hear something new, see something new. I don't think you're going to see a lot of South Bombay guys up here, man. So I'll give you a pretty unique perspective about this whole situation, and it could be fun. So tag along, if you feel like you want to hear and see something new, something different. Let's start here. The number of trucks that I have to drive past is crazy. The first time I tried to drive past a truck, I didn't know how to do it, man. How do you flash them? Are they going to crush me into the sidewalk? How does this work? But they drive pretty rough, to be honest. But there's a system to their roughness. They're not being anarchists. They drive rough and they drive systematically. So you need to learn their driving style and then figure out how to cut them on the left and the right. But a lot of trucks, small, big. Something you see in Himachal that you probably won't see everywhere else is number plates from across this area. You'll see Himachal Pradesh, you'll see Haryana, you'll see Rajasthan, you'll see Punjab, you'll see Delhi, you'll see Chandigarh. I've seen a little bit northeast as well. I've seen Bengal. What do we have up here? Can we take a look at the plate on this Mahindra? Yeah, so this is Haryana, the bus is also Haryana, and then there's a Suzuki. Let me drive up. The Suzuki's at Delhi. Okay, yeah. So there you go. And I'm a Bharat, so this is a Bharat registration because we took this car in Mumbai, and we sort of knew that it would be moving around either with me or with someone else in the family. So Bharat registration made a lot of sense. That's what we did. I can do like a separate video on that, you know, the pros and cons if you need it. So yeah, a lot of plates, a lot of cars, man. Like I feel like there has been a lot of growth, a lot of capital liquidity in this belt, because I see a lot of new cars, man. Like, I mean, one, you know they're new when you see the plastic on the back seats, you know, that's like typical Indian new car mindset. Leave it on for 6 months. I don't have my covers on. It's been more than a year with this one, but yeah, I mean, you see a lot of seat covers, the plastic ones, you know it's a new car. A lot of people buying new cars here. I mean, you also see a lot of new models. Like I see so many 700s, the Mahindra SUV 700, yeah, which just tells me that that's a new car. There's a lot of people buying and investing in new cars. A lot of people buying bigger cars, you know. I'm not seeing a lot of small cars. But the higher you move, right? Like the closer you get to Himachal. Yeah, okay, fast track clear. The closer you get to Himachal, the more Suzukis you see. I'd say Suzuki has completely dominated Himachal, Maruti Suzuki. A lot of Altos, a lot of old 800s. I don't know how these things are still working. Like, what are these? Are these retro builds or something? Like, are people swapping engines in Maruti 800s? Are they buying second-hand cars and like just sort of rebuilding broken parts? I don't know, man, but I see a ton of 800s, which is very interesting. I will not see a single 800 in Mumbai anymore. A lot of 800s, a lot of new SUV 700s, a lot of Thars. Oh my god! Like, for one, the road I'm driving on is nice right now because it was made like a couple of weeks ago. But man, the monsoon's brutal. It's like off-roading every single day. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people buying Thars, and not just like base model Thars. Like you see 4x4s, you see the Thar Rocks, which is the bigger Thar. There are a lot of people driving Thars, which makes sense in this area. The roads can get rough. You will see the higher up we go, and a lot of new cars in general. What I don't see though is a lot of EVs. So EVs haven't picked up that much here yet, which is a little surprising because like everyone has homes here. I mean, I live in an area where we have apartment buildings, but the rest of the city, the rest of Tri-City, so Panchkula, Chandigarh, Mohali not so much, but Panchkula and Chandigarh mainly are homes, like, you know, houses, independent houses. So when you have an independent house, you have an independent power meter, you have space to set up a charging cable, and you would potentially never have to go to the petrol pump. So I'm really not sure why people aren't investing in EVs here, but they aren't. I mean, I'm not seeing a lot of EVs out here. Probably because we drive longer distances. I mean, driving 100 kilometers a day in an EV can give you a bit of range anxiety, especially if you didn't charge the previous day. Then you're not going to want to make that trip. You know, with the smaller EVs like a Punch or a Tiago EV, for instance. I'm in a Tiago petrol, which is also something I'd like to cover. You know, eventually. You know, how this car is, how this car works. It's an automatic. It's one below the top model, so that it's got a decent number of features. I'll probably give you a car tour in some time. I've got a really nice, I think 11 inch? No, not 11. Probably 9 inch LCD display. It's a good resolution. It's nice, bright, very easy to read. Has all, you know, the Android Auto and wireless and all those features. So it's super convenient. In fact, like, I mean, with Tesla, you saw minimalism trend, right? Like everyone's swapping out buttons in the car and everything happens in the display. And I think Tata has done a phenomenal job with that because, I mean, they want their manufacturing to be lean. They want their cars to be low cost so that they can make money and sell them to you at a price you'll buy. So it makes a lot of sense for Tata to do away with expensive hardware and to keep it clean and neat, and they have done that. So they've swapped out a lot of buttons in the cabin. You don't have like buttons for anything. You don't even have a volume knob right now. Like the only dials you have is for climate control. So I have a temperature dial, I have a fan dial, I have a button for auto, and I have a couple of other buttons. So you have the air circulation. Woo! Gotta make a quick. Okay. The horns are super interesting here, man. Like, what was that horn? Okay, so I was saying we have like a couple of dials. We have a climate dial, we have a fan speed dial, we have a couple of buttons for air ventilation on your face, on your legs, and that's it. Like everything else is in the screen. There is no volume knob. There's a volume slider in the screen, and I love it, man. Like I'm not complaining. So what we're driving on right now is the bypass. So we're driving on the Pinjore bypass. So Pinjore is a town in Haryana that comes along the way from Panchkula to Baddi. And probably like 6 months back, we used to drive through Pinjore, which meant narrow roads, very frequently packed with trucks, not so easy to get to, and you could end up being stuck there for like half an hour and do nothing about it. So, you know, avoiding Pinjore is great. This bypass is this really nice, clean road, and I'll admit it. I don't know what the speed limit. I mean, all NHs have 80 as a speed limit, so I'll guess 80 is the speed limit. My car beeps at 80 to let me know that I'm driving fast. But man, I can pull an easy 120 here and not even realize, because the roads are empty at 7 in the morning, and I mean they're also good right now because monsoon hasn't hit yet. But yeah, I mean I'm going like 102 right now. It's really nice, smooth, clean. But so something that I have learned painfully driving in this area is the amount of roadkill. I have never ever seen roadkill in Mumbai, and it's not like we don't have trucks or people driving fast. I mean, people drive fast everywhere. If you go to the Sea Link, chalo Sea Link to galat example ho gaya, but go to like Khar, for example, or go to BKC, where you have slightly bigger, more open roads. Go to the suburbs. You know, you see you have slightly wider and slightly more open roads. But there's no roadkill. Like I will not run into a poor animal on the road. But here, bro, I will see a dog every alternate day, just completely annihilated, and it's so horrible to see. I feel really bad. I try to think of a couple of things we can do. One solution is to give them, you know, those shining collars so they're visible in the evenings, and you know you don't end up hitting into them in the night, which is typically when the roadkill will happen. But you know, I have seen a cow dead on the road and completely smashed, probably by a bigger vehicle like a truck. And at that point, I'm like, bro, is this a mistake? Like, how are you not seeing a cow on the road? I get it, like it's dark, there are no street lights here like many tier 2 highways in India, but you have headlights, bro. Like, how are you missing a cow? So it's a little shocking, and it's not nice to see, but it is what it is. I feel like, you know, there's this guy named Shantanu. I forgot his surname, but he used to work with Ratan Tata, and he used to be like very close to him. I'm not sure what his position was, but he seemed to be a sort of more personal executive assistant to Ratan Tata, and he was very personally involved with Ratan Tata's life. You know, in the later years, was almost a grandson to Ratan Tata, I would say, and he made radium collars for dogs, and that has helped save a lot of lives on the streets for our strays, because cars can now see them when their headlights flash off the radium collars. I don't know if something like that is feasible here, but it's something I definitely want to explore. If you're an NGO and if you feel like you can help me here, that'll be great. You know, I don't mind taking the weekend and driving around collaring these dogs. It'll be a little tricky getting them to let me touch their neck, but I think we can figure that part out. But I don't know, is radium collars a good solution? What do you do to avoid roadkill? Yeah, that's something that bothers me a lot out here. I've seen a couple of trucks having some interesting messages at the back. You know, a truck will say पशुओं को प्यार दें या पशुओं को be kind to them, which is a really nice thing to write behind your car, man. Like, I would love to put a sticker like that, but the mindset is not great. People don't, and I hope this is not a thrill, because it's absolutely not pleasant. But I hope this is not a thrill for someone, but it does happen. On a side note, beautiful views, yeah. I mean, you drive through here at 6 in the morning and 6 in the evening, and man, the sunrise, the sunset looks awesome. You've got this beautiful orange blue hue, and you can see the silhouette on the mountains, hills, I'll be real. They're not mountains, they're hills. But you know, so in Chandigarh, when you're driving on one of the central city roads, I think Madhya Marg, I'm not sure, don't shoot me in the comments if it's not that, but one of the central roads, right, when you're driving through, you will see Kasauli, which is like the Lonavala of Chandigarh. You know, the way we head into Lonavala on the weekends, you have a slightly long weekend, everyone's off to Lonavala. You either have your own place there, or you rent an Airbnb and you get a nice chill weekend, a little more pleasant, a little cooler. Kasauli is basically that for Chandigarh. And I mean, when it's 12 here, it's 2 there, so it's a little bit further than saying cool. It's cold, but it's fine. It's really pleasant. I've gone there a bunch of times. It's really nice with family, with my partner, so it's been lovely. And that's what I love about Chandigarh. I mean, you're near the hills, you can jet off whenever you want, drive off, and it's really convenient. So we're getting pretty foggy now. I'm gonna have to put the front hot air blast on. I don't know what is it called, front defogger, but you should see the glass clearing up a little bit. And we need to do that every like 15 minutes in the morning here, because like the glass will fog up pretty quickly. I don't know if you can see my back, but my back is also foggy. I've put the rear defogger on. Yeah, so where are we? We are about 17 kilometers from Badi now, halfway. No, more than halfway. It's about 42 kilometers one way. So, and it should take another 30 odd minutes. I want to be there as soon as possible. Yeah, this is where the road gets a little narrow. Not a lot of space to overtake, and you probably shouldn't. The road is full of potholes. I don't know, this car can take a beating, man. Like, I don't know what the clearance is on this, but the shocks drive up and down pretty well. It has taken a beating, and it probably will take a few more, and it takes it like a champ. So do get this car, you know, if you're going to be driving through bad roads. The Tiago, it won't burn a hole in your pocket, and it'll also not give you anxiety when you run through a pothole. But something I realized a little later, you know, like when we got this car, we knew we wanted an automatic and we knew we wanted a petrol, but I was not sure if I want an EV. You know, like, I mean, when I say we knew we wanted a petrol, we thought, you know, I'm living on rent, and the EV infra just doesn't exist here. You'll have to charge at home, or you're not charging at all. So, you know, we were like, you know, you probably shouldn't get an EV, but CNG was an option, and it would have been great from the mileage point of view. I mean, 100 kilometers on petrol definitely costs more than 100 kilometers on CNG, but because the cylinder adds a lot of weight to the car, I don't know if it adds more weight than like 30 liters of petrol, which is my full tank, but I have a feeling it does. It rattles, and when you're driving through the hills, your connections are going to get a little loose. You're going to start seeing a little bit play in your connections, so the tank's going to be rattling behind me, which is not going to be pleasant. And you also lose a little power. When you're driving in the hills, sometimes you need a bit of a kick. So that's why we took petrol. But on the model, I definitely like recommend considering something called the NRG range. So Tata has something called the NRG. I don't know what it stands for, but it will basically give you a slightly higher ground clearance. It will give you plastic cladding on the lower chassis. So like on the lower parts of your door frame, and like the front and back bumper will have plastic cladding. which, I mean, it doesn't look premium, but what it does is it will save you scuffs and like road, gravel flying off the road from cars and trucks in front of you. So that would be pretty useful if I'm being honest. And it gives you higher ground clearance, and it gives you a slightly more hardy, slightly stronger suspension setup, so you can probably take those bumps a little better. So if I'd buy this car again, I'd probably buy the Tata Tiago NRG, and it'll just give me a little bit more comfort of mind when it comes to driving through bumps. Yeah, this bridge is interesting. So this bridge didn't exist like 6 months ago, and we were driving through the ground that used to have a bridge before it. The bridge got washed away in the monsoon, and then we were driving through the riverbed. Like the riverbed is dry. I think they've like dammed it up or something like that. But I mean, we used to go up and down a 35-40 degree incline, and you have like trucks carrying like tons of cargo in front of you. You're anxious that if the truck brake doesn't work, it's going to come rolling onto your face, and trucks would break down all the time on the hill. I mean, it's not easy to like haul ass 20 tons on a 40 degree incline. So I mean, my car would have to take it on gear 1. Like I couldn't even go to gear 2. So it used to be an absolute pain. The truck would stall, and that would cause a 2-hour jam, and you would need to like wait 2 hours, and everyone's late to work. So that bridge was super helpful. So like, yeah, the infra is coming, but it's slow, man. Like 1.5 years, and apparently it's been in the works for like 5 years before, and it's a really simple bridge, and it's still not done. I mean, they don't have side rails on the bridge, and people are driving through it. So I don't know, man, like this infra situation is bad here, and like the people have a lot of not nice things to say about the government as well. So yeah, so we're about 13 kilometers away. Driving on the wrong side, you saw this guy, right? Driving on the wrong side is a pain here. You gotta be super careful, otherwise, I mean, you're dead. Driving on the wrong side, people do quite casually out here. I mean, why? Like, who is it serving? I know you're trying to overtake and shit, but like, what the hell? Don't do it. Again, look at this man. I have a lot of bad memories with this place. Again, this part of the road. Again, during the monsoons, the road disappeared. Like there was no road. It was just mud, which means muck, which means tires getting stuck and buses halting out there for like 30-40 minutes, trying to pull some truck that's stuck in front of you out of the muck. So that was always like a pain. Monsoons, it could take you like 4 hours to get back, honestly. Like we would reach home at like 8 in the night, and then you're up again the next day at 5:30. So monsoon was a bit of a difficult time for the work-life balance, mostly because of the roads, not because of the company. I work in PNG. You're probably seeing it through the wheel, and it's a manufacturing company, so I need to travel to the plant every day. Fog is another issue here. I'm not sure if the fog you're seeing right now is just people burning wood through the night, or if it's real fog. I mean, let's get a sniff. Oh, it's definitely wood. This is not the cold smog. This is people burning wood through the night, which is what a lot of people do on the farms to stay warm. So not surprised. I realized this a couple of days ago. What if I become an Uber and an Ola driver? Because I'm driving from Baddi to Panchkula every single day. It's a 900 rupee drive one way, and it costs me about 400 rupees in petrol. So I'm averaging 15 right now, 15 kilometers per liter since the last refuel, I've driven 369 kilometers, and I have another 120 in the tank, and I'll drive till about 50. So if I'm gonna drive till 50, I have 70 kilometers left, which means I'm gonna drive 369 plus 70, so that's 440 kilometers on a tank. 440 kilometers, and it cost me about 3,000 bucks to fill. So, it cost me 3,000 bucks to fill. So I end up spending about 400 rupees, 500 rupees go and come go and come two ways in a day. And if I'm able to pick up a ride from Baddi to Panchkula in the evenings, which is about 900 rupees cash, I think you net like 600 after commissions. My day's travel is basically free. In the summers, my travel costs like 550, 600 rupees because your mileage drops. I could basically be traveling for free, which I would like very much on a entry level salary. So I've been considering it. I've actually signed up for Ola and Uber. I don't have a commercial car. I have a personal private Bharat registration. So I'm not sure Ola, Uber, why are you letting me register? But I got a call from Uber saying, hey, thanks for registering. Not like a robot, like a dude. And he was like, thanks for registering, and you're registered as a cab driver. And I was like, okay, are you sure? I have a commercial plate. He's like, yeah, you have insurance, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, go drive, be an Uber driver. So I'm going to run the app now and see how much I'm getting. I tried it yesterday on the way back. It gave me a ride from Baddi to Chandigarh for 750. It was one of the outer regions of Chandigarh. It was Punjab University. So not exactly in my way, because I actually drive through Haryana and I come to Panchkula through Haryana, and driving through Chandigarh, which means you go Baddi, Chandigarh, Baddi, Punjab, Chandigarh, Haryana. So Baddi through Chandigarh to Panchkula means you're driving through Punjab and then coming to Haryana, which is Panchkula, which is a longer drive, and it takes more time because of the traffic lights in Chandigarh. So we avoid that route. We basically do Himachal, Baddi to Pinjore, Haryana. We take the Pinjore bypass, and then we enter Panchkula, which is in Haryana. So that tends to be a little bit more efficient from a time and fuel point of view. But I can drive to Chandigarh if you're going to pay me, man. I'm down. So I'm going to try that today. Yeah, I think we're about 15 minutes out now. I wanted to be there by 7:30. It's 7:25, so it's okay. Probably leave a little bit earlier tomorrow. Yeah, it's been great, man. Good first experience for me recording. I'd love to talk to you guys about fuel, about mileage, about what to do when you're stuck on the road. This is stuff I had to figure out by myself, and there aren't a lot of people explaining this stuff in English. If you're not so comfortable with different Hindi accents or dialects, I think I could be of a little help to you. Stick around, man. I don't know, do you like vlogs? I felt like this is a good use of my time. I can share some thoughts I have, some unique experiences. I can take you through Baddi. How many of you all have been through Baddi? None, right? Yeah, we're driving through Baddi right now. We're coming to the Himachal toll, and I have a toll slip from yesterday. This toll slip is valid 24 hours, so I should not need to pay again today. So we'll hand it over to the toll guy. Hold on. Yeah, nice. No cash. Yesterday's toll did the job. 24 hours. Awesome. Now we're in Baddi, and we're driving to the plant. It's a 10-12 minute drive from here. There are a couple of ways to enter Himachal, which you need to enter Baddi. I've taken the route that goes through the Baddi city, because the roads are a little bit better, and I have a small car. I don't want to beat it up when I have the choice not to. So yeah, we're gonna do a bit of a overtake maneuver out here. I know the roads tend to be empty at this time of the day. Yeah, so driving through Baddi, lot of pharma plants up here, man. Like Baddi is, I don't know, is it called the pharma capital? I think it's called the pharma capital of India, because you have a lot of pharma plants. And by pharma I mean like general medicine industry. So you have soap, you have like people making injection ampules, you have test tubes, syringes, medicines, tablets, syrups, all of that. And you'll see a lot of the company buses going up and down picking up employees. And you know, plants operate on a 3-shift model. So you have A, B and C shift, which means your A shift starts at 7:30, which is when I get there, and it'll go on to like 3:34, and then you'll have B shift from 3:34 to about 11:30 in the night. We call that evening shift or afternoon shift. And then finally you'll have night shift, which is the fun one. It starts at 11:30 in the night and goes on till 7:30 a.m. the next day. So you know, working in a plant, if you're cycling across 3 shifts, that can be tough, man. Like I don't know how managing circadian rhythms and stuff takes a little bit practice. But our people do it, man. They do it. They show up every day, no fuss, and they make the finest blades in the world. I work in Gillette, so respect to the teams that do this, and for the organizations that maintain a culture that feels your employees valued to be showing up every day, be it in A, B or C shift. I don't live in Baddi because the road, the water quality and the electricity are bad. I would probably still find a society that has a home that would make me feel comfortable. I'm not looking for much, but I am looking for sunlight. Frankly, like one of my most important indexes, oh, looks like we dropped. My most important indexes for living is sunlight. Like I want light in the house. I don't want the place to feel dingy. And with a lot of homes built in Panchkula, you'd see, you know, the family that's built the house, is not caring too much about sunlight on the top floor, which they rent out. Which is not nice, man. Like, we want to live in a place that feels alive. I don't want to live in a place that feels like jail. So if you're making a house and you want to rent it out, please have some sunlight in. I mean, I'd pay like 5k more per month if you have some sunlight coming in. Like, that's frankly like my most important parameter, and that's what I kept in mind while moving into my current place. So yeah, you can't really live in Baddi because of these reasons. I prefer not to, which means I have to drive up and down every day, 2 hours on the road and 100 kilometers of fuel. But hey, I have you guys to speak to, so it should be chill, right? We should have some fun. Besides, something I hate about roads in this area are that speed breakers do not have radium stickers on them. Why? Dude, it's dark already. What about like night? Like, you can't see the speed breakers. I end up flying over half of them, and I think, oh, there goes like 3 years of my shock absorber's life. Oh, please, man, like, put bloody radium stickers on the speed breakers. I don't think we're asking for much. Make life a little bit easier and make my car stay a little bit longer with me, please. Paint it white, man, for God's sake. Like, if you can't put radium, if that's expensive, just paint it white. We'll find it. Don't leave it looking like the rest of the road. The car will fly over the speed breaker. Yeah, I don't like that. I also know that Baddi has a pretty strong union problem, which means that if you're running a plant here, you need to be using trucks given to you by the Baddi union. I mean, it's great for the union economy. You charge some juicy premiums on general purpose transport like trucks and probably passenger vehicles as well. But that can put your plants in some trouble, man. Like you're generating unrequited cash flow problems for the plants. Smaller manufacturers who might not have such strong and such consistent order books have to shell out unnecessarily high premiums. So unionization has its negatives. I'd say cost of transport is one. In the sense, you're making the entire Baddi supply chain ecosystem a little prohibitive unless you have like free capital or you have predictable order books. Because like a lot of the new industrial towns in Maharashtra, in Gujarat, have fixed this. Like they have really good transport unions and they have rail connectivity. We don't have a train system in Baddi yet. I know they're building a track, but the only way in and out is by road, which means you're heavily reliant on trucks, which means you don't really get to charge, you don't have any pricing leverage. Like the pricing power is with the truck and the union, and they could charge you pretty high figures. And a lot of industry is moving out from Baddi because of that. Closer areas in Himachal like Solan, which is close to Shimla, have turned out to be more affordable. And if that's the case, people are going to move out. So we're climbing up a hill right now. I have very interesting stories on this hill as well. Some that I'm scared to reveal because I feel like people will say it's my fault, it's not. But I'm not done, or I've seen some pretty scary things happening on this hill. Probably we can come to later. Given me a bit of a nightmare at times. Everyone was okay, but man, this hill has some freakish car stories on it. But yeah, we drive up this hill to the plant, which also can be a problem with some very heavy trucks because they'll drive at like 10 kilometers per hour up the hill, and you're like losing it. You're like, bro, fast. Like I'm losing my shit. Like let me go up. But you have to wait unless you want to drive on the other side and risk getting front-ended by another fast-coming car. Along with Thar, Haryana has a lot of vehicles made by a company called Force. And if you're from Mumbai or somewhere in the south or a metro, you probably haven't heard or seen of a Force car. You've probably seen of a Force truck. It's that truck company with the horse logo, and it's an Indian make, and they're pretty sturdy. So you've probably seen like trucks from Force, but in Panchkula, in the north belt up here, you'll see trucks you'll see cars made from Force, and these are like 10-seater people movers basically, and you'll see like a large group of people stuffing into that car, and like very affordable transportation, like 50 kilometers for 50 bucks and all, which makes a lot of sense in this area. I'm not sure how safe it is. You're definitely not giving seatbelts to 10 people, but Force vehicles are big people movers here. And because it comes from a company that makes trucks, that these cars can take a beating, so reliability is not an issue. So yeah, we're 200 meters out now, driving past PNG's second plant out here, and driving to Gillette, which is where I work. I make blades, and if you'd like to know about that, we can talk about that as well. So thanks a lot for tagging around for today morning's drive. I hoped it was nice. I think this might be something different for you to tune into. I hope you enjoy what we speak about here, and I hope okay, got to park a little bit better. Have they moved these, man? Like I remember these poles being a little bit more easy to navigate, but I think they've made these poles a little closer than they need to be. No problem. One thing this job has done is made me a pretty nifty driver. So no problem driving. Alright, awesome guys. I'll see you soon. Stay tuned.